Hi, I'm Saul, and this is my guide for Enhanced PvP in Midnight Season 1. So in this guide, I'll be covering the Totemic Lash build as well as the Stormbringer Windfury build. Currently, the Totemic Lash build is quite a bit stronger, but it's more complex and it's more susceptible to being kited, whereas the Stormbringer Windfury build is much easier and less reliant on uptime, but it's less powerful overall. And with that, let's get into the Lash Talents. So, in the Shaman tree itself, the main thing you're going to be changing is if you're playing against a comp where you don't need Cleanse Spirit, you can drop it and play Short Hex. Other than that, there's nothing much to change here. This tree stays the same in the middle, and so does the Enhancement tree. A lot of people have been asking me why you don't take 4 points in the Apex talent tree, and the main reason is just that Crash Lightning is severely undertuned in PvP, doesn't do anywhere near enough damage. For the PvP talents, you have two talents that are going to be always set in stone, that being Grounding Totem and Shamanism, but your third slot is a little bit of a flex slot, so if you want to play a more offensive build, you can play with Totem of Wrath, and if you need something more defensive against setup comps, then you can play Burrow. Unfortunately, High Mountain Torrent is the best race for PvP because of the passive damage reduction it receives. But if you're anything like me and you don't want to play as a fat cow, then Orc and Dark Iron Dwarf are also viable options. But keep in mind, racials don't make that big of a difference in PvP. When it comes to stats, you're going to want at least 18% haste, at least 24% versatility, and after that, you can either take more mastery to get more burst damage, more versatility to get more survivability, or more haste to get more consistent damage. I'm personally going to go for around 20% haste, 28% verse, and put the rest into mastery. Keep in mind, this is in PvP combat. For tier, you want 2 set, going for helmet and chest. The reason you don't take 4 set is the stats on the pieces aren't great, and the 4 set buffs are Crash Lightning, which isn't great for PvP. These are the best comps for Enhance. Keep in mind that in 2s, ever since the dampening changes, double DPS doesn't really work, so you're going to always want a healer. And in 3s, I predict the best comp is going to be Sub Rogue, but everything listed here should work. These are the add-ons I use, and if you want my profiles for any of them, you can just download them on CurseForge, go to the settings here, and you should be able to import my profiles here on the sidebar. Before your arena or your battleground starts, there's a couple things you want to do. So the first thing you want to do is apply Lightning Shield to yourself, which is automatically going to apply Earth Shield and your weapon imbues thanks to this talent over here. Then you're going to want to apply Earth Shield to the target that you think is most likely to get trained on your team, and then you're going to want to Sky Fury buff your whole team. Before we get into the Lash damage rotation, there's a couple macros you're going to need. So the first one is going to be your standard burst macro. What this does is just allows you to press your burst all in one button. You're going to want to set it up kind of like this here, where you can add your on-use trinket or blood fury if you're an orc. Then you're going to want to add / cast bloodlust or heroism, and then doom winds after. And the second macro you need is this one right here. This one is just going to replace your standard Lava Lash bind, and what it does is, let's say for example, you drop your Surging Totem here and you're attacking this guy. Well, let's say he moves over here. If you're just going to press your standard rotation by pressing Lash on him, it'll automatically move your Surging Totem to the person you're hitting. That way you don't have to worry about moving it manually. When playing Totemic Lash, there's a couple things to keep in mind. The first thing is that your Flame Shock is important to keep on your target because it reduces your Lava Lash cooldown from this talent right here. And the second thing is that you always get a Hot Hands proc on your first Lava Lash after you drop your Surging Totem because of the Whirling Element Fire. Now let's get into the standard rotation you're going to be doing throughout the game. Now the first thing you want to do is use Voltaic to apply Flame Shock. Then you're going to want to be building Maelstrom using a priority-based rotation. Now keep in mind, the priority changes based on if you have Hot Hands active or not. So if you don't have Hot Hands active, you want to be building Maelstrom using Storm Strike over Voltaic, over Crash, over Lash. And if you do have Hot Hands active, you want to be building Maelstrom using Lash over Storm Strike, over Voltaic, over Crash. You want to spend your Maelstrom when you get to 10 stacks on Lightning Bolt, but keep in mind that if you're getting kited and you can't build Maelstrom, then it's okay to spend it above 5. Now the second part of the Lash rotation is just your 30-second burst window. What this is just Sundering into Primordial Storm. It's important to use your Sundering right away. That way it lines up with your 1 minute cooldown. And let's say you use your Sundering and you only get to 5 Maelstrom, well then you just use your regular rotation to get to 10 and then consume your Primordial Storm at 10. Now when it comes to the 1 minute burst, this is how you want to start every arena, every team fight. You're going to start by pressing Voltaic Blaze to apply Flame Shock, then you're going to press Surging Totem on the enemy, you're going to press Sundering on the enemy, then you're going to press your Burst macro, then you're going to Primordial Storm, into Lava Lash, into Lightning Bolt, into Lava Lash, into Lightning Bolt, into Lava Lash. You want to extend your hot hands as much as possible during your Surging Totem by spending Maelstrom on Lightning Bolt, and prioritize Lash over everything after you use your Primordial Storm. So in practice, this is what your burst rotation is going to look like. You're going to start by pressing Voltaic Blaze, then you're going to press Surging Totem, you're going to press Sundering, you're going to press your Burst macro, Primordial Storm, Lava Lash, Lightning Bolt, Lava Lash, Lightning Bolt, Lava Lash, Storm Strike, Lightning Bolt, Lava Lash, Storm Strike, Lightning Bolt, Lava Lash, Storm Strike, Lightning Bolt, Lava Lash. You're going to continue this until your Surging Totem ends. Then you're back to your regular rotation up until your Sundering is back off cooldown. Once your Sundering is back off cooldown, you're going to press it right away. Then you're going to press Storm Strike and Lava Lash to get to 10 Maelstrom. You're going to consume your Primordial Storm. And then you're back to your standard rotation until you have your 1 minute burst back, and then you just repeat. While Stormbringer is worse than Lash, it's definitely still viable and a lot easier to play, so let's get into the talents. Now, in terms of the Shaman tree, the only thing to really change here is you can drop Cleanse Spirit if the enemy team doesn't apply any curses and play Mana Spring. Other than that, the Stormbringer tree and the Enhancement tree always stay the same. When it comes to the Honor talents, it's the same as for Lash. You can either play Burrow or Totem of Wrath as a more offensive option, and Grounding Totem and Shamanism are always a must pick. The only macro I recommend for the Stormbringer build is the same burst macro we use for the Lash build, but you'll notice that the Doomwinds portion here transforms into Ascendance, since that's the talent we take over here. Something to keep in mind of while playing Stormbringer build is that Crash Lightning does very low damage, so don't get baited into using it even if you get a bunch of procs. And with that, let's get into the standard Stormbringer rotation. So you're going to want to start by applying Voltaic, then you're going to want to build Maelstrom using a very simple priority-based rotation. You're going to start with pressing Storm Strike, over Voltaic, over Crash, over Lash. You want to spend Maelstrom at 10 stacks on Lightning Bolt, and keep in mind that it's okay to spend it below 10 if you're being kited and you can't build more Maelstrom. As for your burst, it's very simple. You just press Voltaic, then you press Sundering, then you're going to press your Burst macro, and then you're going to spam Wind Strike as much as you can. If for whatever reason you run out of Wind Strikes, you can just press Crash until you're able to Wind Strike again. So this is how the Stormbringer build works in practice. You're going to start by pressing Voltaic Blaze, then you're going to Sundering for the haste buff, then you're going to press your Burst macro, and you're going to spam Wind Strike as much as you can until your Ascendance ends. Once your Ascendance ends, you're going to go back to doing your standard rotation until you have a Sundering back. You want to make sure you press Sundering off cooldown, and then you're going to go back to doing the standard rotation until you get your next Sundering and your next Bloodlust back, at which point you'll press those. That way you'll be able to get 2 Bloodlusts in for every 1 Ascendance. Alright, so let's get into some tips and tricks. Now the first tip I have is that Crash Lightning actually grants the buff even if you don't hit anything. So what that means in practice is that if you're getting kited, or if you're sitting a root and you aren't able to connect to your enemy, you can just press Crash Lightning as a Fither Global and get the buff, and that way you're able to do extra damage for when you actually get to the enemy. The second tip I have is that Voltaic is a nature spell, and it's also guaranteed to critically strike. So what that means is that it's always going to proc Stormbind and slow the enemy. So it's really important to keep in mind that Voltaic is a guaranteed consistent slow. Now most people know this by now, but the third tip is that if you want to stun the enemy on your burst, what you can do is you can place your cap totem very far away, and then you can use Totemic projection to move the cap on the enemy, giving him no time to react. So it looks like this in practice. Thanks for watching my guide. I stream all my arenas at twitch.tv/Saul, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have there. Also, keep in mind, things are subject to change since it's the very beginning of an expansion, so make sure to check out my stream for the latest information.